So I'm plasterboarding, and the first job with plasterboarding is ceilings for me. So I always put my ceilings up. I like my wall boards to come up underneath the ceiling boards, especially in the case where we've got an insulated plasterboard on these walls on the outside, because if you put that on first, then you lose your grounds sometimes, which is the last joist. You lose that because the plasterboard thickness on the walls, in our case, is nearly 40 millimeters. You're left with about 4 or 5 millimeters to try and get a screw in. So technically speaking, you want the ceiling boards on first, and then you want the wall boards to come up underneath, and we do that everywhere. So the first job is the ceiling. I've worked out how many boards I use. I take the length of the room, I take the width of the room, I work out the square meterage and divide it by the square meterage of a full board. A standard board is 2.88 square meters. That gives me an amount of boards. I add on a couple for joints and cuts, because every now and then on this side of the ceiling is fine, because I can use a full board from any joist because they're all spaced exactly to suit boards, and then just start with a cut at one end. So the first job I'll do is work at the back. I'll do this ceiling, bulkhead ceiling, move into this area and do the easy ceiling last today, which is that one there. The easy one because there's no skylights to go around, there's no bulkheads, and that basically means that the end of the day will be easier. I always think that's a really good thing to do. All of our plasterboard was dropped off like 100 meters away because we have a bridge. So first job is bring it in, but instead of bringing it all in, I'm going to sort of bring in 7 for there. I've got 7 for here, 7 for there. I'll do 7, put it up, do 7, put it up. Just breaks the day up a bit. We're also going to be featuring or wearing for some of this a new device. Well, it's new to me. I haven't tried it that much on site yet. This is an exoskeleton, something which is becoming more and more popular around the world for all kinds of sort of jobs. And a lot of people are very negative about the exoskeleton. If you've seen any of the posts we've done on social media like Instagram, a lot of people, I'd say 50% of people, don't particularly like it. They think that it's going to take our manliness away. They think that we should just tough it out and just get on and do the work. But if you know how many millions and billions have been put into researching these devices, and they've been around for a long time. Take sports, if you're a football lover, these cameramen have been hauling huge rigs for many years with similar devices. So they've been around for a long time. It just so happens that now they're becoming more mainstream for construction. So they sort of stop strains and aches. Anyway, you'll see them in use as we go on. So the first job is bring a bit of board in, plasterboard all those areas up there, and we're away. So we've got a wall roof here. That's why there's no insulation on show here. Sometimes you'll have insulation to do as well. You need to get that in and get it plasterboarded, and that sometimes drops down and falls all over you. But we have got the luxury of just going straight on top of our joists here. Collated screws, we use collated screw guns, and that's it. We're going to get on and do it. Let's get some board. So I've got a whole heap of plasterboard here. Came yesterday. We can't get it any closer because of a weak bridge. So there you go. So the only thing you have to watch if you're going to leave it outside is keep it covered well. We don't want any water getting through here. Right, start bumping it in. Best part of the day. I always like this kind of exercise. It's good for you. I mean, these are quite light, these 12mm boards. I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle, a few more to bring, and we're off. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me, and what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the
hours it takes to get some power.
All our board is in, and now we're ready to start. I'm going to start in this corner. I'm going to work through the rear bulkhead. I'll pull this high flat ceiling through. I'll leave this bit here until we've got some suitable offcuts, because if I cut them out of full sheets, I'd rather get to the end and then use whatever we've got to get through the front bulkhead. Now, I like to use my board edges everywhere. So I'll have a board edge against this bulkhead. I'll have a board edge against this glue lam, and I'll drop a board edge against here. Why? Because they're super flat and straight and we don't have to clean them up with a rasp. So some simple tips when you're plasterboarding. As I say, we're going to do the ceilings first. I will allow, this is 12 millimeters on the face of here, the plasterboard on this wall. So I'm going to allow about 5 or 6 millimeters on the ceiling one, so I know they fit all the way through. I know that this bulkhead distance from there to here is exactly the same all the way through, because I was able to set that out and make sure that worked. I also know that this ceiling is dead parallel to this glue lam, so once I'm happy with my measurement, I can cut on my boards and get them done. So I'm going to start by taking it in here, sailing it in here. This wall gets stuck and it comes up and meets it. We'll put some grounds through once we put the plasterboard through, and then we're going to stop this first one onto this joist here, and then we've got a full board onto this joist here and half a sheet there. That'll give me another half a sheet to start this way, and away we go. So that's the first thing. Now, with regards to holding these boards up, so I'm going to do the cutting, bringing, lifting, holding, and Ed will start screwing them, okay? So what I like to do is simplify the job as much as possible without all of this sliding and moving around. I'm just going to put a couple of bits of batten just on the wall, just below the board. So when I bring the board in, I can just lip it onto there and literally just hold it against there and Ed's away. We're going to mark all these joists where we've got them, because that is also super important. We want to make sure we know where they are. So along with those little blocks at the back for this bulkhead as well, just to make sure we don't slide it too far forward, I'm just going to pop a couple of battens on here as well. We can either spin them out the way like that, pull them down and board against there. So as I say, we can spin them round or have them there. So when I push it in there, lift it up, pull it back, boom, we can plasterboard. So I'll take some measurements for the board. They're both the same. So I need 1040 there, and I also want to get back onto this first one, and then I've got a full sheet to the next one. And this one I'm just going to sail over there. So I'm going to take a little bit off the length for that one. Doesn't need to be super tight on the end. And we're going to go 2370 there. We'll cut that first board and then we'll get it up. So cutting is really easy. You can use a knife. That's all you need. And you can do it with a straight edge like this. I'll do it both ways. So we want to make it 1040. Now what we want to make sure is we keep the right end of the board. We can put an offcut into the wall, doesn't matter, and this cut end into the back wall there. But what we want is to where we join the boards together, we keep the board edge, because we know they're nice and square and we haven't got to clean them up too much. So this board's effectively going to go up and in. So over, I'm going to keep this one, cut a bit off that end, cut the width off as well. Let's go for 1040. Let's do it with this straight edge first. Just a bit easier to show you, and then I'll show you the other ways. It's just a light score with a knife. You've probably seen this done 100 times or more. Just through the paper. Pull the board over. Snap it. You get a lovely clean snap. If you score any more, it sometimes breaks out. And then just cut through the back. You can do it from this side with a really sharp knife or hand underneath. Cut from one end, cut from the other end so it doesn't tear off. And we'll set this to one side because that's a really useful reveal somewhere. That keep it nice and flat. Now I want to take a little bit off the end. This end is a free end, it's in the wall, so it doesn't really matter. So I'll just knock off, I need about 30 millimeters off the end of this. So I can, sometimes we do it with a tape measure and we just hold like this using our finger and we take it off. So our finger becomes a marking gauge. This is what the professional tackers do, so when they're watching go, yeah, that's what we do. And again, because it's not a lot, you just want to ease that, hear it crack, and then work it all off. Again, take that off. And we got our first board.
Yep, that's it.
Pull it back to the bulkhead. That's it. Pull it back to your batten. Check your halfway on the end.
Yeah, it's me there, nice on that joint.
Right, you get that one all fixed up.
Yep.
And I will do the next one. And that's perfect on our mark there, look, as well. Now the name of the game is keeping in front of edge. That's good. This is the tacker's way, the quick way. Save that for another piece, pop it over there. So how do you find that exoskeleton, Ed?
Taking some getting used to.
Yeah, it's I think you'll probably realise at the end of the day if it's been helpful or not, if you start feeling tired, so.
Hopefully get a bit more output. Yep, I'm gonna let go, you can feel it.
It's fine, and it needs one hand, because those little blocks do all the work.
Yeah, lovely.
Hold on. Yep, you're good.
That's classic.
But it's easy, because those blocks on the wall
Yeah.
are holding it, I've literally just got to put a hand to it. If you didn't have those there, you hold in the middle. Sometimes if the boards are a bit damp, they'll just break on your head. Ed's just changing his collated gun. Push it all the way up, all the way back.
Yeah, tiny bit to me in the length, but
Hold on
literally
then.
nothing. Yeah.
Happy?
That's it.
Do some middle and ends and I can let go then.
Yeah.
Or come through the front, all the way through the front, it will hold it in. Good. Excellent, thank you.
So
Let you get the back first before I take them battens off. Good. Just going to cut that one in. 1180. So the camera's been rolling constantly, although I may edit it out, a lot of the walking backwards and forwards. We're about, I don't know, 15 minutes, I suppose, doing this little sealing, which is, you know, hopefully it's close to tacker speed. Those guys are brilliant. They'd have this room done in no time. They wouldn't be messing around with a camera, filming. But it's what we do. Last piece, let's get that one in. So. Right, that's that first side done. Now, we're going to tackle this bit, which is fairly straightforward and easy. One parallel rip, all the way through, and a few cuts.
That's
that's it.
You happy?
Yeah. We're well into the plasterboarding now. As I say, we started in this corner and we pulled this low bulkhead through, then we married the ceiling up through here. We've left the front face of that bulkhead until we've got enough rips or offcuts for that. I don't like cutting into new sheets until I've completely finished all the full boards. So then when we actually did this section here with the roof lights, this is the section of roof that you saw in the flat roof video where we were setting out these roof lights. The joists were all put in to suit those roof lights. So we had to actually cut more boards than you might do. But what we did do was, instead of having a board and then the offcut, we had exactly the same boards either side. So all I had to do was cut everything twice and then just put the infills down the middle. So that meant that this board are exactly the same. The two behind them are exactly the same. These two boards are exactly the same and the same that end. So basically means that I can simplify it and take away half the measuring work. And then when we put the middle sections in, they're just dead lengths, okay, to the edge of the openings. And what that also means was I was able to then sight through the side of the openings, use a small handsaw, cut into the hanger, and then use a knife underneath to the line to actually snap them up out of the way to get these really lovely crisp openings there. By doing it like that, we did have to cut every single board, but it reduced the amount of time because that board is exactly the same, and so on and so forth. Now this side we left till last because when I built this roof on this side, all I had to worry about was the plasterboard and the OSB over. I use a metric OSB so it matches the plasterboard, okay? So all we had to do in here was a full board straight off the pile against our wall onto a joist, another full board, and then we had the offcut over there, and then the offcut from that one starts the next run here. And then we're back to full board. So we've got again full board, cut, and then we just got the rip. But this particular one, we've probably got about another hour's work and it'll be completely finished. And yeah, Ed's been having a go with the exoskeleton, mate. I haven't even got mine on yet, have I? I've been doing running and cutting. You've had it on for a while. You've taken it off now. Getting a bit hot.
Yeah, I've taken it off. I'm a bit hot. It's quite heavy, but when it did give me some assistance, it was pretty handy.
Yeah, I haven't got mine on yet. I need to get mine on. But I think what would be really useful, sometimes when you're putting plasterboards up, if you're a team of three, so you've got a cutter and two fixers, I think if one person, all they do is just go around fixing, you've got the cutter who's passing up to they're both holding, and the fixing guy's going around. That's all you're doing all day long. I'd imagine that would be absolutely amazing, and especially where you've got, let's say, a great big ceiling, you might have 30 or 40 boards on the ceiling, then I think that will really come into its own, because you get a lot of repetitive strain injuries. But where you were here, Ed, and you were tucked underneath here,
I was going to say, I think
tight for you, wasn't it?
I think if I wasn't on a ladder, if I was just standing on, we've got the stack of plasterboard here, if I was just standing there and working on this ceiling, it'd probably been a lot better. But up a ladder and that tight squeeze, wasn't the best for me.
Yeah, and a couple more tips. Where I'm not marking my joists on this glulam beam, because I know they're all at 400 centres, all I did was mark, before I put the plasterboard up, I've marked the plasterboard at 400 centres, and therefore I don't have to mark this beautiful glulam beam here, which would basically mean I've got to take the marks off again. So yeah, and that's pretty much it. So we're just going to whack the last few of these boards up and yeah, call it a day until we start the walls. But this video, as I say, was just more about looking at plasterboarding ceilings, some of the techniques. You've seen me use the T, and if you haven't seen the video where I make that simple T, it's the most useful thing. I'm just going to show you what I mean. It's the most useful thing that you can have, because you just pull it in and it supports the board. So I can pop it up with Ed, put in the T, and away I go, and it's done. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Catch you all again soon.